How the Hell Did You Get Here podcast. My name is Joe Soja, and I'm going to try to be as exciting as possible for this podcast. This is my first podcast, and so I don't really know what I'm doing. But my goal is to motivate and to show people that it is possible to become successful, no matter what you've gone through in life. I mean, I've obviously gone through a lot in this in my lifetime as an alcoholic. You've heard some of my stories in my videos. In this first episode, I'm going to talk about some of my escapades, and give you a little synopsis on how I got to where I am. How the hell did I get here? Right? Sometimes I'm confused on how I got here too. And so let me pull this up here. So in this podcast, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be interviewing people that that may or may not be successful, or however they consider themselves, but and they're not going to be people, not just going to be people that struggled in life and then all of a sudden, that they became successful. It's also going to be people that that became successful through a series of just doing well in life. They went to high school, they went to college, then they went to, then they got a good career and they're successful. I mean, that's important too. It's important to know the process at which to where you get to where you want to be, right? And so the purpose of this podcast, again, is to give people inspiration and motivation by providing them with interviews of real life, ordinary people who have become successful after overcoming trials and tribulations. I guess I'll start by, introducing myself. And even though I think a lot of people may already know me from my Facebook posts and all that stuff. So I grew up in I thought, a very normal household. I played sports up until I was 12. The reason why I stopped at 12 was because I sucked at all sports. I'm short and fat, and I'm balding now, so that's crazy. I feel like George Costanza from Seinfeld. And so I did well in high school. I participated in student government. I was a president twice. I won a contest for like a personality contest that was sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I think it was MAD, but anyway, it was to prevent or to give awareness to drunk driving. And what's funny is, well, maybe not funny, but I got a DUI not too long after that, right, when I was 21. And so, I mean, my drinking started at age 18. I remember when I started the first night that I drank, and it was glorious. I mean, it was so much fun. I got all of my nerves went away. When I started drinking, I considered drinking. I related drinking to getting laid, right? That was the purpose of me drinking. And to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever I don't know. I've been laid more times sober than I was drinking. I wasn't very good at drinking and being attractive, right? So I was kind of disgusting. So I actually got kicked out of college because of my drinking. I hit a parked car in the parking lot of my college, and I was written up constantly for drinking underage in college and disorderly conduct and all this other stuff. And then so they had many opportunities to kick me out, but that was the last straw. And in fact, during that time, I had been diagnosed with ADHD and given Adderall, which was the best thing in the world. I still love it today. I can't take it because I abuse the shit out of it. Um, yeah, I mean, because it's just a wonderful drug, right? Yeah, so they kicked me out, and then I continued to take Adderall, and I eventually, well, first I got a reckless driving ticket, and by that time I had gone to the psych ward twice, and then I got a DUI in 6 months later after that. So less than a year after um, getting kicked out of college, I started recovery, right? Which was very much needed because after that DUI, I went on another bender. Actually, I went to the psych ward for the third time. Went on, and then once I got out, I went on another bender to Atlantic City. I met this a drug dealer, and that's not a big part of the story, but I went to his place, and I ended up doing coke, got slapped around a few times, and then all of a sudden things got bad the next day, where I was not allowed to leave. So I consider it the hostage situation that I went under. And yeah, and I was roughed up a little bit, and then I found and then when we were walking to drop my mom's car off, of which I took, I basically stole it. I I went to we were walking, and then we stopped for some reason. I don't know why we stopped, but I ran into David's Bridal, and I said, "Help! Help! Help! I'm being held hostage." And then the drug dealer's like, he's high. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And by the way, yes, I was high. I was drunk. But I didn't know what else to do to get away from that guy. And yeah, and so they said, "Get out of here, get the hell out of here." And I said, "Okay, okay." And then I realized, oh man, I better not get out of here because I'm gonna die if I go out with this, go leave here. So I ran behind the desk, and I hid under the desk, and I said, "Please, please, I need help." And then so they called the ambulance and blah blah blah. I go to the hospital, and then I go to the psych ward for the fourth time, right? By the way, the psych ward was my favorite place. They give you lots of calming drugs, and they just, and they have groups, and it's just fantastic. It's a break from life. I mean, I wouldn't go there now, because I have a lot of responsibilities, and I mean, not that bad of an idea, but whatever. So yeah, moving forward, I went to rehab. Okay. So what happened was they suggested rehab for the fourth time, by the way, and then I finally said, okay, I'll do it. And so that's when my journey into recovery happened. I went to San Diego for rehab, and I had some instances where I relapsed 6 months after I started getting sober. Got put in jail in Tijuana. That's another story, right? I tried a meth for the first time, and man, that was a hell of a drug, and yeah, and all of a sudden I couldn't get this woman out of my room, and then I was all confused. I was such a pussy when I was using and drinking. But luckily I got sober for the first time permanently. Okay, so I got sober for the first time April 3rd of 2012. I was doing well, and then I was doing badly at work as a maintenance guy. Come to find out, I just can't do maintenance. I suck with my hands, and so that's why I sell insurance now, because I can't do anything else. I can only talk. But I I got put on Adderall again to help me focus at work. And by that time, I met my wife now, 6 months prior to that, and basically all Adderall did was uh, speed up the process of me getting fired, because I thought I knew what I was doing and I just did it. Because when I'm on Adderall, I'm the smartest guy in the room, and I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? So, fast forward, I moved to Fort Collins, Colorado, and I hadn't taken a drink in like 3 years, but I was on Adderall, right? And so in May of 2015, living at my then fiance's parents' house, I decided, okay, I can drink again, right? It's a geographical change. I'm fine now. Um, in 2 months, my fiance, who is now my wife, she said it's either me or the alcohol. And man, I stopped. My last drink was July 25th of 2015, but I was still on the Adderall. And it took me about 9 months to stop abusing Adderall. I'm sorry, 11 months to stop abusing Adderall. And the only reason why I stopped was because I ran out and I couldn't go back to the psychologist or psychiatrist and ask for more or anything like that. So July 1st is my I consider that my sobriety date, right? I haven't had a drink since July 26th of 2015 or 25th of 2015, but I chose my sobriety date as July 1st of 2016. And then all of a sudden, things started happening. I was I was clear-headed. I didn't need to take anything in order to function except for caffeine, of course. And slowly but surely I started making good decisions from there on. I got married in 2016, and then we had Joey, our firstborn, in 2017. And then all of a sudden, and then I got a job selling life insurance, and it was on accident, to be honest with you. I was like, I'll give it a try. And I became good at it. I guess people enjoy me being in their homes and acting like a psycho. And I'm just kidding. I don't act like a psycho. I actually act pretty professional when I'm at work. But yeah, and then we had and then I did well in that job. And then in 2019, Walker was born. By the way, in 2017, I became the guardian of my dad. My dad's disabled, and I mean, he needs help, and so I had to move him out here somehow. And in 2020, that was the opportunity. COVID hit, and all of a sudden, interest rates went way down, right? And it was the right time to buy a house. And so I bought the house. I had my dad move in with us. That turned out to be a terrible situation. My wife and I were on the rocks for a couple of years while he was here. And we moved him out in October of 22. So he lived with us for 2 years, and it almost cost me my marriage. But luckily I prayed about it. I asked around, and I finally got the courage to say, okay, Dad, I need you to go into assisted living, right? And I still feel bad about it. I mean, because I'm the bad guy, right? I'm the bad guy of the family, even though he's getting the attention that he needs. When he was in New Jersey, he was going to the hospital every month, and people were scamming him while he was at his home, and the house was falling apart, and people on the outside don't know this stuff, but I did what I needed to do. So in any case, that's how I became successful. Basically, it was stop making bad decisions with drugs and alcohol, and start thinking of ways to improve my life, right? And one of these ways is the next chapter of my life, I guess. Obviously I'm going to continue selling life insurance because I do really well with it, and I make a good living with it, and so the next chapter is I want to become a motivational speaker, right? So I'm starting this podcast. I'm hoping that it's going to inspire people and motivate people to try to be the best selves that they can be, right? And that's by, if someone's down and out, maybe they'll listen to this podcast and see, oh wow, this guy who was, a drug addict, alcoholic, whatever. And I'm talking about other people. I want people to tell their stories on how they became what they feel is successful. And maybe it'll give people that don't have problems, a guide to figure out how to be successful in the field that they want to be successful with. So I'm really excited about this podcast. I don't have anyone scheduled for the next episode, but my plan is to ask around, right? I mean, anyone listening to this podcast, I'd love for you to reach out to me and to volunteer to tell your story and tell me and the audience, tell America or the world, right, how you became successful as well. And so again, there's been a dramatic increase. I wrote this down here and I'm reading it now. There's been a dramatic increase of tragic deaths, both homicidal and suicidal, for decades now, right? So what my goal is to find solutions for this. So I believe that one of the reasons why this is occurring is due to the fact that people find it impossible to turn their lives around. If these people see that they too can turn their lives around and feel loved and purposeful, we may possibly see a decrease in this unnecessary violence. So according to research from Jillian Peterson, who's a PhD, many mass shooters share a commonality of childhood trauma that include physical abuse, sexual abuse, suicide of a parent, domestic violence in the home, etc. I've befriended many of those, so I myself have befriended many of those who experience such trauma in their lives and have found that all of them suffer from a sense of hopelessness and lack of love or acceptance. So the goal of this podcast is to have those who are hopeless find that they too can attain hope and happiness. This is from the Bible, Romans 12 verses 9 through 10. Let love be genuine. Abhor what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. So I feel that people listening to this podcast maybe can suggest this podcast to others and that are down and out, and so that they too can see that we can anybody in the world can come out of the hole that they've dug themselves into and live the life that they deserve, right? So yeah, my closing remarks. That's our show for this first episode. Again, the goal will be to do an episode every 2 weeks with a different guest every time. So our next episode will feature, I don't know who it's going to feature, but it's going to be someone that I know that has had struggles in life and is successful. And I look forward to seeing who that is. I'll ask around, and I think you guys will enjoy listening to the stories of people either who struggled or just went through a path in becoming whatever they wanted to become. So come back and find out how these people became successful. Until then, this is Joe Soja signing off to remind you that anyone, absolutely anyone, has the capacity to turn their life around and live a happy, successful life.